And I trust that you're going to make some very insightful contributions as you share your thoughts with us on the stories we'll be reviewing today. My name is Kimberly Wachuku. Call me Kim, the Oracle, the Digital Oracle, OTF, the fellow Chanya one. You know, even people allow me. See, I'm beginning to feel underappreciated every Wednesday. Because I'm getting to like, oh, this is who I am. Remind you of my very long names. And somebody's asking me, Kim, is Dr. Majeed there? Like interrupting my flow to find out if Dr. Majeed is around. How rude. All right, Dr. Majeed Dahiru is here with us. Dr. Majeed, good afternoon. You were thoroughly missed, just so you know.
I missed the show too.
By week 3, I was expecting I was saying we no go agree post placard.
So as I tested, I started getting some messages in my DM. So I knew that it was something to remind that to say
exactly
what's happening.
Exactly. Last week, like, what's going on? This is the 3rd week in a row. You know, we're not the only one who needs his wealth of knowledge on the show. People call him from all over the place and all over the country and even the world for his wealth of knowledge. So let's be grateful for the days we have him like today. So thank you very much.
I think I still need to apologize to our listeners to say, well, once in a while, we have some of these outstation functions, events, and other responsibilities too. But as much as possible, we'll try to be here whenever we do not have such engagements. So I'm grateful and I really appreciate the kind words that I get and the encouragement that I get too. So that will only make us remain on the path of, truth, patriotism, and advocacy for good governance. Thank you very much, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Majeed. And Tokwe says a double welcome to Dr. Majeed. No vex scheme. All right. No.
Keep no vex.
Okay, let's look quickly at some stories. And I'm glad that we're looking at what, something that the Vice President has called for. A call for the prioritization of local content and promotion of made in Nigerian product, citing the Executive Order 003, which makes the patronage of locally manufactured product mandatory, still in effect. And Shetima also said the federal government has partnered with the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria to devise an actionable roadmap and policy framework that would refurbish the nation's manufacturing sector, and affirmed that the roadmap and policy framework will be speedily implemented to effect the needed changes that will revamp the sector. The VP, who declared open the 3-day National Manufacturing Policy Summit at the State House Banquet Hall, regretted that the sector had endured a series of setbacks over the past decade. And he had so much to say. It's stressing the need to support local firms and all of that. For me, when politicians or leaders are talking about, patronize made in Nigeria, it gives the impression as if we deliberately avoid made in Nigeria, that we see made in Nigeria and decide, no, we're going to go for made in Cameroon or made in somewhere else. But the thing is, some weeks back, we're looking at how companies were shutting down.
Yes.
We talked about even the textile industry, how for many years, over a decade, they've not been able to jumpstart it. And the amount of fabrics and textile that we've imported into the country, given our large market, we're looking at small indigenous companies that are folding up, multinationals that are leaving the shores of the country. You now start to ask, where is government putting its money? Put it where your mouth is. If you're saying these, then back it up with the policy, the right framework, and the right financing to get made in Nigeria.
I think you've said it all.
I've not said it all, Dr. Majeed. You have plenty to say to this.
There's nothing to add to this, really. Ordinarily, you don't even need an executive order to mandate citizens of a country to patronize what is made in their country. Now, once it's competitive, once it's qualitative in terms of pricing and quality, once it's accessible, citizens will simply patronize what is available to them. So ordinarily, we expect that something that is made in Nigeria should be cheaper compared to what is made in, say, China, and which you have to transport all the way from China to Nigeria. So, but when you have a situation where what you import from China, for example, is cheaper in Nigerian market than what is manufactured in that same market. I've always made the point that if you are to import a pair of shoes from China, from Guangzhou in China, for example, all the way through Lagos Port, through all the difficult roads to Aba in another market, that product from China will still be cheaper in another market than the one that is made in that same market. Yeah. So if I'm a consumer, for example, that is trying to survive on $19 per month of minimum wage, which is started on why should I patronize one that is more expensive and probably less quality than one that was made in China, that is in this market, that is of better quality, better finishing, and then cheaper price. So it's not enough to pontificate about patronizing. Nigerians love Nigeria so much. One of the examples of how Nigerians love Nigeria is the patronage of arts, entertainment and sports in Nigeria. Nigerians consume their own arts. We relish it. Our DJs play Nigerian music all over our parties. In fact, we are our own biggest consumers of our entertainment content. Before the world embraced it, before Afrobeat conquered the world, Nigerians have on their own taking ownership. At the point in Nigeria, you go to any party, any public, any ceremony, you hardly hear the foreign music being played there. That's how much Nigerians love Nigeria. Nigerians from different sections of the country even dance to music, a language they don't really understand, but just because of the rhythm, the African or the Afro Nigerian rhythm. So we love Nigeria. We would love to patronize Nigeria. I remember a time in this country that Nigerians started using Ajire fabrics, actually sold jackets. We are that patriotic. We don't have a problem patronizing Nigeria, but the question is, how productive is Nigeria? What is the state of Nigeria's productive economy? And as the vice president, what has his government done in the last 1 year to improve productivity in this country to a point where we could have quality goods in enough quantity that will also be pricing competitive? What has been done in this regard? Is it by removing all forms of subsidies and raising interest rates? Because in that same event, Dangote raised the issue of interest rates. That accessing bank facilities at over 30% interest rate, thanks to the policies of this government, is not good for productivity, not good for the economy. Look, in China, for example, the interest rate on lending is 3.45%, approximately 3.5%. In Japan, it was in the negative. That is, interest rate in Japan until very recently was minus 0.1%. Minus, it was negative, which means, for example, if you take a loan from a Japanese bank, they will pay you the interest, not you paying them interest. And when they start to raise the interest rate from the negative point that it was, as I speak to you now, it is barely 1%. It's barely below 1% as a matter of fact. So you now begin to wonder why you can produce Toyotas, Nissans, Hondas, and other Japanese products, and they are conquering the world in terms of pricing and quality. And Innocent is barely able to survive within the Nigerian market against tough competitions from Japanese brands. Because Innocent has to go and borrow money from any of these banks at the commercial rate. There is no dedicated fund for automobile production in Nigeria. So as we speak, Innocent vehicles and other Nigerian-made vehicles like Nord and others actually out of reach of the common man.
I mean, how many people can really afford
these vehicles? And
vehicle?
it's not fault of the manufacturers. They have to manufacture and cover cost a bit. Yes, in the last government, the Buhari government, I am aware that there was a deliberate policy on the part of some heads of security agencies to patronize locally made...
particularly the army.
The army. No,
In
fact, I can tell you that the army contributed so much to boosting local production of vehicles, particularly the patronage of Innocent for their official vehicles. As of 2021, I'm aware that they placed order of vehicles from Innocent that Innocent cannot even deliver in 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And they've paid up front. And sometimes even when they receive vehicles and they have some little, need for some adjustments and some, when you do bulk purchase, that all cannot be in perfect condition. The army have been so cooperative with Innocent that, they simply return them and get them exchange for a better one. So they did well in that regard. Even some of the military equipment we're using today is from Proforce, that is operating from Ogun State. MRAPs and other, military logistics needs are obtained from there. So they've done well in that regard, yes. We need to see more of this. But beyond this isolated case of, an agency of government just doing its own part to see whether they can patronize, locally made wares. I'm also aware that Nigeria may also sourced some of their uniforms and other things from Aba, an industrial cluster. So, yes, that is good. But the truth is, to make this thing available to everybody, we have a 200 million population. For 200 million people to patronize substantially goods and services made out of Nigeria is for the government to go beyond just this. You need to do what other countries have done. You need to provide power at a subsidized rate. We're back to this issue of subsidy. You must provide all energy needs for industrial development and industrial growth at subsidized rate. You can't run from it. You keep running, well, good luck to you. But it's not something you can run from. It's the core responsibility. You must, like in case of Nigeria, you must subsidize diesel, you must subsidize electricity. Not just electricity that's epileptic, available electricity at affordable rates. You must do that. You see, that's why I have this.
Because particularly for manufacturing sector, what can you really do without power?
It's a no-brainer. You must lower taxes as much as possible for manufacturers. In fact, in some countries, what people pay is more of, income tax, not company tax. In a country like Saudi Arabia, for example, they don't pay company tax.
Well, we can understand for Saudi Arabia because they're a wealthy country.
How did they become wealthy? That's the question. If they had been behaving the way we are behaving, they wouldn't be wealthy. The Saudi oil is not flowing on the surface. It is actually onshore, in the desert. It was very difficult to extract. But they have been able to develop capabilities through disciplined leadership, focused leadership, competent leadership, enough to be able to drill 12 million barrels of crude per day from the desert. And so they've been able to provide welfare and security adequately for their citizens. We are saying we should be able to do same here. And it requires competent leadership that is integrity-based, an integrity-high leadership that will govern the state in line with the intent and the letters, as well as the spirit of the Constitution, which is to work and develop the economy of Nigeria for the benefit of the welfare and security of citizens. We don't have that yet. So, Mr. Kashim Shettima, while it is good that you are reminding us of using made in Nigeria goods, you also must go beyond just the rhetoric to put in place the relevant policies. And beyond the policies too, I think you should lead by example. The last time I checked, the convoy of the president and the vice president do not have any made in Nigerian car in them. I can't remember the last time any president of Nigeria used a made in Nigerian car. The only governor I know, or governors that I know of today that are using made in Nigerian cars, are the governors of Anambra and
the IBS state here.
They're usually not seeing SUVs. And this shouldn't be the case. Innocent is not the only Nigerian manufacturer. We have other companies, but when we mention Innocent, it's just like a reference point to locally
others,
made Nigerian automobiles. So the first, for example, I'm sure in that event where he talked about us using made in Nigeria goods and services, I'm sure he drove to that event in a foreign-made car. And it is not too much to ask that the president...
And perhaps even his fabrics were imported. Even the tailor will be here, but the fabric itself was...
Even, let me tell you the truth, our people are now sewing their clothes in Dubai. Some in Morocco, yes.
The Barbariga?
Yes, in Dubai. Because I did design that some machines in Nigeria are not capable of bringing out, so it is in Dubai. We've got it to that level. So even those who sew our clothes, our the materials, the Wawan Gambaris, the shredders, the laces and all are made overseas. They're imported. And I'm saying sometimes they import it and divert it to Dubai first for sewing properly. I'm not saying the vice president did that.
All right, let's take a quick break and let that sink in. Let's go on this break. We'll be back in a bit.
For bank, we no sabi your matter. You want bank where you fit trust make it grow your money. Optimus Bank don't land gidigba.
Here on the Roundtable with Dr. Majeed. Dahiru is a researcher, is a columnist, and also the tech team lead of Luxera Leadership Foundation. Hafsat Mazu on Facebook, we see you, says, we appreciate your good work, Dr. Majeed. NG Gabriel Koja is also watching us from Plateau State. Dr. Majeed, I really miss you. Good afternoon. From Suleja, Golden Ebere, send that one in. Sunibra Daniel says he's an encyclopedia of knowledge. Love his presentation. All of these comments on our Facebook page, so you can join live on Facebook and YouTube as we stream. At Nigeria Info ABJ is how you can reach us on the social media platform. So, Dr. Majeed, yes, you were saying something about Dubai, yeah,
so
and you also put a disclaimer out.
It's important, but I'm just saying we have a lot of Nigerians today who not just import the fabrics they wear, because again, you can't even blame them. We don't have a thriving textile industry as we used to have in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. And they also route it through Dubai, where they have specialized tailors that would sew them for them with the kind of design that they want. So we've gotten to that level, really. So in fact, these days, we actually go outside of the country to give birth to children and then bring them back. I hope they will not impose duties now on returning babies that are born overseas. So, I mean, and why is that? Because of poor health management facilities at home. So it's not just enough to talk about it. What are you doing? Other countries did the heavy lifting investments in critical sectors of the economy to boost industrialization, so they can substitute importation on one hand and drive export when you have substantially substituted importation. That is the two-pronged strategy. But in the case of Nigeria, we've not had any industrial policy for as long as I can remember. We have abdicated responsibilities in the means of production to a very feeble and weak private sector that is now shouting for government support. So whenever I hear Dangote coming out to talk about the need for government to support the private sector and citing cases of other countries, and he's very right. I said to myself, but Dangote, you are in this country where people continuously talk about government having no role to do in the means of production, having no business in business. And we kept warning that any government that does not do business will not also be able to support businesses to thrive, because the art of supporting business to thrive at whatever level is in itself a business-oriented activity that must be undertaken by government. So I hope that with the latest challenges he is facing in his businesses, which is refineries, we all must now come to a round table and have a conversation around what exactly is government supposed to be doing. Is it to be flying private jets all over the country and all over the world? Is it to be cruising in SUVs? Is it to be enjoying the relish of just being in government, the privileges that comes with power and authority? Or is it rolling up their sleeves to do the hard work like the counterparts are doing all over the world?
All right.
To create wealth for their citizens.
Let's just add this before we move on to the next story, that the federal government has approved a new business-friendly withholding tax regime. Taiwo Oyedele, the chairman of the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reform Committee, said this. He announced the approval of X handle, highlighted key design to ease the compliance burden on businesses, particularly small and medium businesses and farmers. And according to the Federal Inland Revenue Service, withholding tax serves as a repayment of income tax deducted at a rate between 5% to 10% depending on the transaction. Returns are due by the 21st of the next month, with late filing penalized at 25,000 naira for the first month and 5,000 for subsequent month. And, withholding tax has been introduced into Nigerian tax system in 1977 as an advance payment of income tax on specific transactions. So, Mr. Oyedele said, while it provides the government with a steady revenue stream, help curb tax evasion, the regime has expanded over time, becoming increasingly complex and burdensome. And he went down to breaking down that small businesses in particular face excessive compliance burden, straining their working capital, and said the newly approved regime aimed to address these challenges, and SMEs are now exempted from withholding tax compliance, reducing the administrative burden. He also did talk about the farmers, how this applies to them. Small businesses and farmers will be exempted from this. It's something, but the
government is thinking of putting back some categories of taxes. It's one that is good. Is a step in the right direction. But the question is, what will be the part of exempting some of these SMEs from withholding tax, which is about 5% of their whatever. Yeah. I do not think it will have much impact, because, you see, what is really driving inflation and cost of business is not necessarily withholding tax. It is multiple taxation, because I don't know how states are going to comply with this. Because states, where they have all sorts of charges. I came from Cross River, and one of the entrepreneurs, a friend of mine, when he listed the amount or the number of levies and taxes he pays to the state government of that state, you begin to wonder. And ask him, how are you now surviving? How exactly are you operating? In addition to the cost of energy.
Yeah.
How on earth are you managing to still run this? How is your business afloat? So these are the real challenges confronting business in Nigeria that is stifling growth and development. But this is in the right direction. We need to see more taxes waived. We need to see a reduction in company income tax from 30% to a single digit. We need to see that happen. We need to see a reduction in...
For indigenous companies or...
Any company operating in Nigeria that can create jobs and convert potentials to wealth. Cut it down. Let it be one of the lowest in Africa. It's important. And I'll tell you why I have this position.
Because tax issue was what caused problem in Kenya.
So
with their financial bill.
Wait until somebody begins to hit the street. Cut company income tax now. Reduce interest rate from double digit to single digit. This idea of hiking interest rate because you want to curb inflation.
That's what Dangote even mentioned.
It's like you're pointing a gun to your own self and pulling the trigger. Nigeria's inflation is not a demand pool. It has never been. The last time we experienced something close to demand pool inflation was in the 70s with Doji Award. What we're experiencing in Nigeria and what we've been experiencing since the 80s is cost push inflation, which was made worse when subsidy on petrol was removed and the price of diesel shot up because of the devaluation of forex. Mm. That is what we are faced with. It's cost push. The cost of making a loaf of bread today is simply unable to come below a certain amount of money. So bread cannot sell below a certain price. Mm. It's not the fault of the baker. It's not anybody's. It's not because I'm demanding too much for bread. No. It is because the cost of putting this bread on the shelf can be less than a certain amount of money given the current market realities. It's as simple as that. The cost of food is the same thing. It is cost push. A farmer that needs to hire a tractor will pay higher these days. He will pay higher for diesel that will be used to plow his farm. He will now also pay higher for transportation of his goods and of his produce from the farm to the nearest market because of cost of petrol and cost of diesel. He cannot now sell a tuber of yam for you at the rate he was selling for you 1 year ago when these costs were not this high. It's common sense. So the best thing is, I've always called for a reversal. A reversal because we have seen that there's no benefit to Nigerians from subsidy removal. I mean, what's the benefit? Yeah. No, we've seen now. All the promises have not been met. So in essence, take us to...
Well, technically, states will tell you they get more.
According to Professor Ludo, it's called money illusion. You know why? The more money they're getting is of no value. Because what 1 billion could procure today, could procure yesterday, I'm sure 10 billion cannot procure it today. Because of the devaluation in the naira. So it was a policy that did everybody harm, including government. So government finances today are in trouble as we speak. It is in trouble. They will need much more of this money to procure. And where is the money coming from? Because businesses are not able to even survive enough to pay taxes. Is it because when businesses are leaving the country, who pay your 30% company income tax? So cut down taxes to single digits. If possible, give a tax freeze to some companies. It's just to recover. I say this because most of the tax revenues and even the tariffs at the port, that needs to come down. Look, do all of this because you need to survive first.
But then if you say that needs to come down, isn't that going to encourage even more importation as to encouraging us to boost our economy and export more?
You see, export does not depend on tariff alone.
Okay.
No, it doesn't. No. Tariff can come in. You see, tariff shouldn't be blanket, should be selected. For example, what you don't have in your country, out of the capacity of having now, you must lower the tariff to the lowest possible so that you can have those things at a very affordable price. But if there's something you are producing in your country, and you want to encourage local consumption of that product, you can place a very high tariff on those goods. For example, in America, when Donald Trump came in as president, he said that American steel companies are not going to compete against Chinese steel imports inside America. In fact, the Storm Tower was built with Chinese steel because it was cheaper at the time he was building it. So what did he do? He targeted Chinese import, particularly steel, and placed over a 20% tariff on steel products. So that by the time you place that tariff, it becomes more expensive at home in American markets. So you don't patronize the nearest American steel product that is close to you. So you can do selective application of tariffs. But for things you don't produce and don't have the capacity to produce in the next 30 years or 50 years, please save us the stress. Allow us to survive. We need to survive first. It's not the fault of Nigeria that didn't put in place industrial policies to be able to produce some of these things locally. And in any case, no country entirely depends on its local production. No, it's called trade. You must export, you must import. Even China imports, even though they have capacity to produce a lot of things, but they still import certain category of goods and services into the economy. So reduce tariffs, because what I've discovered, and I'm sure you know, most of these monies that are being collected through taxes, tariffs, levies, are migrated into the central pool, and they are distributed across the 3 tiers of government. Now, ask yourself, what is the federal government and their agents, the state governments and their agents, the local governments and their agents, wherever they exist, what are they doing with these monies? Are they delivering the goods and services and other things they promised to citizens in form of improvement in welfare and security? The answer is capital no. So why do you keep taxing people for people to be consuming it in the name of being political leaders?
All right. Well, let's look at some comment quickly before we move on to the next story. Kim, interest rate at 30% would effectively shut down all production activities as we speak. Even the regulator, SMIDAN, has not received allocation for projects that impact SMEs. We can't even begin to talk about insecurity that prevent farmers to grow food. We need a short, medium, and long-term plan to activate production, and there are many low-hanging fruits which can be harnessed through effective fiscal policies. Jay from Gariki sent that one in. Dr. Majeed's strong stance on energy subsidy reversal is as constant as the Northern Star. May I conclude, therefore, that no amount of policy that this government may reel out, Nigerians will continue to grow under economic hardship until the subsidy is reversed. Big Willie, a.k.a. Go to Court from Cuba, sent that one in. And our leaders should walk the talk, lead by example. The 16th president of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, says, good example is worth 1,000 sermons. Presidential fleet should be sold. Nigerian air floated. Senate should be paid 5 million naira. House of Rep 4 million naira per month. Cost of governance should be drastically reduced and workers paid minimum wage of 250K. God bless Nigeria, says Tony Ode in Gwarimpa. Good afternoon. How long shall we continue with the rhetorics? Our leaders will keep telling us this. Why they'll be doing the opposite? We should patronize Nigerian-made goods while they continue to use foreign goods. Who is fooling who? Can our leaders get serious for once? Make the nation favorable and see things fall in place, says Shola from Lube. Seriously speaking, the VP is very, in his opinion, unqualified to preach the consume made in Nigerian gospel. I'm a fashion designer and I dare say the majority of his fashions and designs are foreign. Why can't they empower us to have these high-tech monogrammy machines that can churn out those fantastic embroideries? I wonder how they feel when they preach what they don't live. There's scripts and this tempering antithesis. We all saw how OBJ rocked at the rare product with panache. That's how to lead by example, says Prince Okifo. So apparently a lot of people know about the design.
Yes, OBJ actually popularized it. Mm-hmm. In the same way that OBJ also popularized, or should I say mainstreamed, stand-up comedy in Nigeria. If you recall, before Batajo became
in short, it used to be the butt of the joke half the time.
Right in the village. That was what gave boost to that subsector of stand-up comedy in the Nigerian entertainment sector.
Night of 1,000 laughs and the likes of
Exactly. That is a leader. That is a deliberate form of leadership by the apex political leadership in a country.
Good afternoon. Yes, patronizing made in Nigerian goods is a welcome development. However, the manufacturers need to change their attitude of using substandard materials because this is what we see every day. Oludade Abiodun's take there. Oki Ibrahim from Buhari says it's double standard and high level of hypocrisy. Hearing the government playing media propaganda to Nigerians patronizing made in Nigerian goods while under their watch, Dangote is busy importing crude oil from abroad to be used for refinery. It's unfortunate that the Nigerian current political elite, in collaboration with their foreign merchandise, had mortgaged the resources of the country for selfish interest, while poor masses will continue to suffer and live in penury, says Oki. Just some of the comments I thought to read. Before we go to the full line, let's look at this story because Dr. Majeed, what does it mean, declare state of emergency on oil production that NNPC is talking about? They declared that there's a state of emergency or a state of emergency has been announced regarding crude oil production in Nigeria. The company declared war against all factors mitigating or militating against crude oil production in the country. Mele Kyari, chairman of the NNPCL, made this known on Tuesday at the inaugural event of the 23rd edition of the Nigerian Oil and Gas Conference and Exhibition, and said the company is in possession of the right tools to combat the factors working against oil production in Nigeria and would work with all partners and stakeholders in ensuring the battle is won, and disclosed that a detailed analysis of assets revealed that Nigeria could conveniently produce 2 million barrels of crude oil per day without deploying new rigs, but identified a major impediment to achieving this as the inability of the players to act in timely manners. And we've decided to stop the debate. We've declared war on the challenges affecting our crude oil production. War means war. We have the right tools. We know what to fight. We know what we have to do at the level of asset. We have engaged our partners and we'll work together to improve the situation. He had so many colorful words to say. But I recall some weeks back, it was the same person that threw his hands in the air and say, this oil theft matter, we can't do anything about it. We're helpless. And now they have the tools and he's chanting war at this point in time. It's quite interesting. I wonder what changed.
War on what exactly?
He was speaking all over the place, actually. And one isn't sure what is declaring the war.
Exactly. But what remains a fact is that the NNPC, and by extension, the Nigerian state, as an oil-produced country, is underperforming in that regard. We are lagging behind, even in Africa, as we speak. You have other countries that are not only able to mine their oil fields and maximize the oil production, but also converting their hydrocarbon resources into finished products. Nigeria is neither able to do so, and we now have the unexpected challenge that nobody saw coming of shortage of supply of crude, even to existing privately owned refineries. So isn't that a double jeopardy for what should have been Africa's largest oil producer? First, it was the fact that, okay, we have crude oil, but don't have refineries. Now we have refineries. We don't have crude oil to provide feedstock to those refineries. And Mele Kyari is talking about declaring war. I've not heard the head of any oil company in the world speak the way Mele Kyari spoke at that event. You begin to wonder, is this an oil company or is this some propaganda arm of government? What war are you declaring? If a man cannot deliver on a task, one would have expected him to take the honorable exit, which is to just leave. And a president that still retains the management of the state-owned oil enterprise that is underperforming.
But can even the president be spared from all of this? Because technically
he's the petroleum minister.
Yeah.
So now I said NNPC, and by extension the state, as headed by President Ahmed Bola Tinubu today, who's not just the president but the petroleum minister, the de facto petroleum minister. And under your watch, and those you've appointed, because he appointed Mele Kyari, appointed a board for him, appointed 2 ministers of state. Nigeria is talking about inability to meet up with its OPEC quota. So you now begin to wonder, what are we paying these huge salaries for? What are these specs of office? Why are we maintaining people that cannot add a single value to the responsibility they have been given? And an important one, as managing, our oil sector. What is wrong with us? Sometimes you begin to wonder, when things are simple, should we make it complex or difficult? This is simply failure of leadership across the board, downright the middle failure of leadership, multidimensional failure of leadership. Saudi used to produce 10 million barrels per day. They have upped their capabilities to 12. They're only staying on 10 because they don't want to flood the market with excessive, excess crude in order not to bring down the price. So they can do 12. Saudi Aramco used to be an American-owned company with Saudi having equity inside. But by 1985, the Saudi people have not only acquired managerial skills, technical skills, competence, and enough capital to buy up the American shares in Aramco, and it became 100% owned by the Saudi state ever since. That company is the most valuable company in the world as of 2018. Its net revenue for 2022 was over $300 billion. So you understand why Saudi does not charge company income tax on their citizens or any company operating, because they don't need it. Yes, they don't. It is owned and managed by the Saudi state. NNPC was established in 1978. And it has failed all through up until today. And today seems to be the worst. This is the worst ever NNPC can be. And so you heard the game, the talking about declaration of war. When you're working on the field, you're talking about declaration of war. In Saudi, from the oil fields to their pipelines, to the tankers that are ferrying the products into the international market, to the point of delivery, it is monitored from the headquarters of Saudi Aramco in Riyadh. So oil theft cannot work. Where will the
where
theft,
do you want to even start
from? From where? First, why are we having oil theft in the Niger Delta? Let's go back to the basics. You go to a region and you extract crude oil from there, and you refuse to develop the region. Go to other oil producing regions in Europe and Middle East and see the development there. They are a beneficiary of the wealth that is beneath their land. The state ensures that fundamentally. We created NDDC, we created Ministry of Niger Delta. Yes, the argument will always be that after all, people from Niger Delta are the ones mining these places. But are these desirable elements from the Niger Delta? Are these the best people you can pick from the Niger Delta with the right integrity, competence, and dedication to actually deliver on the mandate of this agency? Are they the best people? You picked a professor that came to the National Assembly and fainted under inquiry about how he spends funds. You appointed a minister that spent years, almost all his tenure, claiming to be doing forensic audit of an NDDC. And at the end of the day, nobody told us anything about it. So are these the best people? You have turned these agencies into tools of political settlement. So anybody who supports you as a party is faithful. But you want to reward them from that region, you pick them and put them there. And when you appoint a politician and give him any government agency to manage as a reward, what are you telling the person to go and do there? To go and convert it to the personal fiefdom. It's as simple as that. That has been the lot of NDDC, Ministry of Niger Delta, and other such intervention project agencies in the Niger Delta. So the people of Niger Delta up to today have not felt
much of the impact.
Now, you now have governors that have sprung up over the Niger Delta. Now, whereas the Nigerian state cedes 13%, not less than 30% of all crude derivation to Niger Delta states. Good, oil producing states. Very good. But our political party system, our democracy, that has degenerated into criminal franchise of power grab or purchase for self-service, has ensured that the most undesirable elements also emerge to help some of those states. And what have we seen? States, despite the humongous allocation go to some of these states, they are either indebted heavily and underdeveloped or both. Some of the most indebted states in Nigeria today, some of them are from the Niger Delta. Some of the most underdeveloped states today in Nigeria are from the Niger Delta. Some of the poorest states, multidimensionally poor states, are oil producing states in the Niger Delta.
Which shouldn't be.
Or shouldn't be.
All right.
So basic services like education, healthcare, it's not there. So these people are now scavenging to survive from whatever they can get. So do you blame them? Have you not seen news reports out of Niger Delta? Have you not seen the environmental pollution? Haven't you seen the poverty? Sometimes you see people on Niger Delta, you wonder, how can the state be this rich yet so poor? That's on one hand. Then you have collaborations or collaborators at the highest office in the land. They also collaborate with IOCs to undercut Nigerian state for their personal benefits. So it's a bazaar of corruption. The question is our president ready to pull the brakes on this bazaar of corruption at this point and fire himself first as Minister of Petroleum and appoint the best Nigerian? Do a search, place a global search with only one the requirement: a Nigerian with the right skills and integrity to come and man the petroleum ministry. Do the same thing for the NNPC. Do the same thing for all of the branches of our oil industry. And let us see in the next 1 or 2 years whether oil production will not increase.
So some will tell you that we have mafias, we have cabals, we have all categories of people who would ensure that it doesn't matter the man or woman you bring from any corner of the world, they are setting forces that are stationed to frustrate efforts.
People say that because they are providing excuses for the failure of political leadership. Nobody is as powerful as the state. It is not possible. When the president decided to deal with fake drug cartel and mafia, he appointed somebody that was recommended to him because he placed a simple recommendation out there. I need somebody who has integrity that cannot be bought over by the humongously wealthy, stinkingly rich fake drug cartel in Nigeria. And they said, okay, we know somebody, we don't want Dora Akunyili. And Buhari told us the story of how she's very decent and very high integrity. So Obasanjo said, Buhari told you this, I'll bring the person for me. The day Obasanjo called Dora's house to inform her that you are to be appointed as DG NAFDAC, Dora thought it was a 419 because somebody called and said, my name is Olusegun Obasanjo. Am I speaking with this person? She dropped the phone. She was like, this must be 419. Until the man said, give your husband the phone if he's there. It was somebody that the man explained himself to, that it is me speaking now. I want to make your wife. That was when it dawned on that this was Obasanjo actually calling. Obasanjo had the opportunity to have appointed one of his allies from Ogun State as DG NAFDAC for the purpose of patronage. But he wanted to fight a cause, and he decided to bring in somebody who had the integrity required to fight that cause. And did she not deliver or not? Did she not, did she not destroy the oil fake drug cartel in this country at the risk of her life? There is nothing that is impossible under the sun with the right political leadership and the political will to back it up.
All right, then. I wonder why this war is not declared also to seeing that our refineries are up and running, because he seemed a bit mum on that particular one.
In fact, the date of our, it's like, it's like when somebody say, okay, we don't know when Jesus will come, but we are told he will come, right? But we're still waiting for him to come. In fact, this one is getting almost, maybe it will just come that the refinery work. They've shifted, in the last 5 years, they've shifted the date of the refinery resuming production as many times as I've lost count.
Indeed.
And now again, this is January again. So January is just 6
it's
months
around
away.
the corner. I mean,
we are alive by the grace of God. So ask them again how far.
All right, let's go to the phone line 0700 951 0000 or 0809 5974869. You can call via WhatsApp also on 0809 9930137. Please go straight to the point. Keep it short because we have many people waiting. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon, Dr. Majeed.
Good afternoon, sir.
I greet the oracle. My name is Lassie.
Welcome.
When you were talking about Niger Delta, yes, with the NNDC, with the 13% derivation, and I blame their governors. Their governors are to be held responsible. Yes, we know even the NNDC is the people from the Niger Delta that are appointed there.
NDDC.
Just like what you just need now, NNDC, yes. Then come to the issue of this refinery. Why couldn't he declare a state of emergency for our refinery? You remember during the time of Buhari, for the past 8 years, nothing was done to our refinery. Now, he has come and appointed this continue with the military that was appointed by Buhari. And still up to now, they have been promising and promising that now, they can technically is starting work for Port refinery. And still up to now, couldn't dispense fire to Nigerians. So he should declare war on our refinery first before.
All right.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Selassie. Hello.
Hello, okay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Dr. G.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, this is William Abdullahi. Well explained. I think we need to have to say that Nigerians is a project. We must fix our country, no matter what it takes us. Because what the NNPC, the CEO is saying about maybe, I don't know what he's trying to explain to us, we Nigerians, I think we have to get that. I think we need something really truly be done within the oil and gas industry. We need a really right policy that can really be implemented between the oil and gas industry, because it's quite sad and quite absurd what we're experiencing now, that currently now we are not seeing any update about in terms of the refinery working. And Dangote is down here complaining about cartels, and we can't really understand. But the truth, some of us, we are coming from that side of the countryside.
Williams, we need to go on a very short break.
All right, okay.
Thank you very much.
You do that? Okay.
All right.
More conversation, more talk, more right after this. The effective tournament, the Nationals, is coming. August.
This is Nigeria Info.